that I want to do is acknowledge our elders. You know, I'm not going to call out anybody as elder. You know, I know better than to do that. In this tradition, an opportunity to acknowledge elders and request permission from our elders to begin. And the opportunity is to share this gesture, which we call elevated sparkleation in our community, or yes, or applause, right? So elders in our community, are we ready to begin?
Yes.
Yes, we got the yes, yes. The second piece is a land acknowledgement, and I love that Johanna is, not Johanna, Joe Evans is on our call representing Australia. It is in our work in Australia that I first discovered this tradition, which we have now brought into all of our US events. I'm going to begin by acknowledging that standing in the East Village of New York City, that I am standing on Munsee Lenape land. And I want to acknowledge ancestors and elders that are past, present, and emerging. An opportunity in the chat to name, if you know the name of the indigenous tribe on whose land you're standing, so we can honor those ancestors and elders as well. And also in this moment of history, herstory, theirstory, it's important for me as a business owner who identifies as both queer and Latinx to acknowledge the persistence and the existence of structural institutional racism, misogyny, ableism, ageism, and LGBTQ+phobia. And our commitment is to use our voices, our bodies, and our stories in the dismantling of those institutions to ensure justice, equity, and freedom for all. So with that, now I'm going to pass it on to Deborah to lead us in a grounding meditation to get us all physically, mentally present for the conversation we're about to have.
Hey, welcome. Great to be back in the Fearless Zoom room with you all, with our community. I just also want to acknowledge that I'm here with you today with many, many tree frogs that are singing right now. So the little beeping or squeaking that you can hear through my microphone is all of the frogs saying, yes, yes, we are present. We are present and accounted for. So with that in mind, we're going to take a moment just to come into community, into breath, into being together. And I'm going to invite you to acknowledge everything that is happening in your space. Is it quiet where you are? Is someone in the next room cooking dinner? Is something happening in your household for the morning, Joe, while you're there in Australia? We're coming from all these different parts of the world in these different time zones where different things are happening. And so now just taking a breath deep down into the belly to acknowledge the moment that you are here and arrived in community in this moment now. And just allow the breath to be the grounding force that brings you into your belly, which brings you into the grounding into your body. And you may choose to close your eyes and release yourself from the Zoom screen, or I also invite you to stay connected with who's with you on the Zoom screen and who has turned up to the Fearless Fire today and who is with you and everything that is happening around you, within you, and what is being shared on the screen now. And to just allow yourself to be here in this moment and to now breathing into the best. So today, Eduardo, Ben and myself are going to be sharing with you moments in speaking that stood out for us. What I would invite you to do now is to just take a breath and no pressure. There's no way you can pass or fail this. It's impossible to get it wrong. But just breathe into a moment and identify for yourself, when was I the best? In my speaking, in my communication, in my expressing myself in this, what is going on 2020? Just breathe in and allow to drop in for yourself. When did I have a moment when I was like, oh, I said that thing, or I felt really powerful when I was saying that? And just to bring that in with your breath and to be present to, we all have the ability to be the best in whatever that means for us. to just breathe into that moment for you when I was the best for me. And allow that with your breath and that memory to go through all parts of you and to charge you up, ready today for the listening and the learning of the Fearless 3 and our top 20 thrilling, simply the best. And we welcome you here. Thank you so much for being with us in community.
Yes, Deborah, beautiful job navigating wild animals during that between the frogs and the dogs. You like held it strong. So thank you so much, Deborah. Brava. Way to continue to connect to your breath. So if you are able to join us on video, it is helpful to see people. And of course, I understand the various landscapes that we're in that sometimes prevent us from having access to our video, but wanted to create a space for that invitation. We welcome you and accept you, and however you're able to join us today. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Eduardo Placer. I am the founder of Fearless Communicators. We're a diverse, inclusive public speaking coaching business. We work with thought leaders on what they say and how they say it. And you're joining us for Fearless Chat 44. Hard to believe we've done 44 of these. We have gathered since March as an opportunity to build community around the conversations that are most relevant at the moment. And over the course of the past 10 months, we have had conversations around what else to do besides washing our hands, how to pivot businesses, how to sell in the midst of a global and economic pandemic, how to talk about mental health and the current crisis around mental health, conversations about racial equity and justice. And starting in September, we started the series, which was highlighting speakers who we modeled as being standouts, as an opportunity to study from the best, really highlighting and centering people who we think are extraordinary in their speaking, and then unpacking why it is that they're so good. Sometimes we passively watch extraordinary speaking and don't take that extra leap of asking, why is it they're doing what they're doing? How is it they're doing what they're doing? And how can now I apply that to my own practice? So because it is the end of the year, the end of 2020, we have lots of lists that happen, you know, the GQ's best dressed, you know, the top 10 books to read. As we were gathering to think about this conversation, we thought top 10 was a lot, but if we could focus and center on the top 3, who would we choose? So that's what we're going to center our conversation around today. So the top 3 speakers that and the speaking moments of 2020 that myself, Ben, and Deborah wanted to share with all of you. So I had a really fancy slideshow. I'm not even going to bother with that because I feel like it'd be silly to be looking at that random screenshot, but an opportunity. Yeah, Deborah's like, yes, no need for added technology. We don't need that added technology piece. But an opportunity quickly to center and have our facilitators also introduce a little bit about themselves. So Ben, I'm going to pass it to you. What would you like to, maybe the sharing is your name, where you are in the world, and perhaps the story that you're currently telling.
Oh, I'm Ben. I'm in Brooklyn. The story that I am currently telling is just gratitude for like a wonderful, beautiful Thanksgiving that I didn't expect to have, and just being really, really ready for a new 2021.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Ben. Yes. And how about for you, Deborah?
Hello, I'm coming at you from Barbados. So I shifted from Brooklyn to Barbados in what was 2020. And the story that I'm currently telling a lot is I'm talking eclipse. Eclipse season is upon us now. And I want to be telling everyone around the opportunities available now. It's eclipse season.
The lunar eclipse, right? We're like in between 2 lunar eclipses or something like that. Is that what's happening?
We've gone lunar eclipse and the next one's a solar eclipse, Eduardo. But they're both eclipse and there's both magic.
Amazing.
But don't get me started because it's the story I like telling. You don't get me started.
Because the whole talk will be about the eclipse. Hi, Susan. Yeah. Great to see you.
Hi, Susan.
So before we jump into the 3 speakers that we are highlighting today, I want to share a little bit. It's been a pretty extraordinary year as far as speaking goes. I think also when we're in an election season, it is a space where we center a lot of speaking, right? We have multiple days of platforms, right, of seeing people, communicating to audiences. So it's been a beautiful opportunity to just be in the listening of what are the conversations that matter, what are the conversations that are leading people to speak, and then also what are the messages that are really resonating in this moment. And I think it's a beautiful opportunity to kind of be in the listening of that. It's been a fascinating year to be in the study of that, not to mention that we're also doing it in different ways. So whereas we, prior to March, did in-person events and had people in theaters or events or venues, now so much is in this virtual landscape. It's been an interesting thing to kind of track how these communication styles and how these techniques have been transferring into these different forums and formats. So the one that I'm going to center to start us off happened over video. It was not an in-person event. Some of these are in-person events, but mine was what happened over video, and it happened during the Democratic National Convention. And the speaker that I am going to center and highlight is the person who I want to credit for extraordinary speaking in 2020 is Michelle Obama. And Ben, what Ben is going to do is he's going to show the clip. We're going to share the clip, and then we're going to break down why it is that that I am highlighting this as the highlight for me in 2020. Okay, so we're going to watch about 5 minutes or so of the speech, and then we're going to break it down afterwards. And again, I just want to acknowledge technology, different screens, different internet speeds and stuff like that. We're going to do the best that we can. If the video kind of cuts in and out, we're just going to focus our ears on the listening and continue to be present and listen for the gold. Okay, so Ben, here we go.
Empathy. That's something I've been thinking a lot about lately. The ability to walk in someone else's shoes. The recognition that someone else's experience has value too. Most of us practice this without a second thought. If we see someone suffering or struggling, we don't stand in judgment, we reach out. Because there, but for the grace of God go I. It is not a hard concept to grasp. It's what we teach our children. And like so many of you, Barack and I have tried our best to instill in our girls a strong moral foundation to carry forward the values that our parents and grandparents poured into us. But right now, kids in this country are seeing what happens when we stop requiring empathy of one another. They're looking around wondering if we've been lying to them this whole time about who we are and what we truly value. They see people shouting in grocery stores, unwilling to wear a mask to keep us all safe. They see people calling the police on folks minding their own business just because of the color of their skin. They see an entitlement that says only certain people belong here. That greed is good and winning is everything, because as long as you come out on top, it doesn't matter what happens to everyone else. And they see what happens when that lack of empathy is ginned up into outright disdain. They see our leaders labeling fellow citizens enemies of the state while emboldening torch-bearing white supremacists. They watch in horror as children are torn from their families and thrown into cages, and pepper spray and rubber bullets are used on peaceful protesters for a photo op. Sadly, this is the America that is on display for the next generation. A nation that's underperforming not simply on matters of policy, but on matters of character. And that's not just disappointing, it's downright infuriating. Because I know the goodness and the grace that is out there in households and neighborhoods all across this nation. And I know that regardless of our race, age, religion, or politics, when we close out the noise and the fear and truly open our hearts, we know that what's going on in this country is just not right. This is not who we want to be. So what do we do now? What's our strategy? Over the past 4 years, a lot of people have asked me, when others are going so low, does going high still really work? My answer, going high is the only thing that works. Because when we go low, when we use those same tactics of degrading and dehumanizing others, we just become part of the ugly noise that's drowning out everything else. We degrade ourselves. We degrade the very causes for which we fight. But let's be clear. Going high does not mean putting on a smile and saying nice things when confronted by viciousness and cruelty. Going high means taking the harder path. It means scraping and clawing our way to that mountaintop. Going high means standing fierce against hatred while remembering that we are one nation under God. And if we want to survive, we've got to find a way to live together and work together across our differences. And going high means unlocking the shackles of lies and mistrust with the only thing that can truly set us free, the cold, hard truth. So let me be as honest and clear as I possibly can. Donald Trump is the wrong president for our country. He has had more than enough time to prove that he can do the job, but he is clearly in over his head. He cannot meet this moment. He simply cannot be who we need him to be for us. It is what it is. Now, I understand that my message won't be heard by some people. We live in a nation that is deeply divided, and I am a Black woman speaking at the Democratic Convention. But enough of you know me by now. You know that I tell you exactly what I'm feeling. You know I hate politics, but you also know that I care about this nation.
So Ben,
You know I care about all of our children.
So we're going to stop sharing the screen here.
Am I still sharing?
You're still sharing. Yeah.
Stop.
Right.
Okay.
So this was 5 minutes or so of a larger 18-minute conversation that Michelle Obama led. And I'm just curious from your listening, and we like to use this term thrilling, what did she do in her speaking that was effective? And there are enough of us here that we can put ourselves off mute and share. So it seems like Joe is ready to share. Joe, what did she do that was thrilling? She took notes. I love it.
Oh, I do. I think she did loads of things, but what I really noticed was, first of all, how she just set the pace by her whole composure at the beginning. You knew she was about to say something really important. It wasn't like a flippant hello, it was, so I love that. I love the way she set up the concept to remind us all that actually empathy is so imperative and so easy. And then she used children, the filter of our children, which would speak to everybody. Is this what you want children to see? I thought that was really powerful, as in, and then I love the practical example she gave. So if you didn't know what she was talking about, by the time she'd finished, you were totally clear what she was talking about. Yeah. And then I loved a few other things, but I'll just quickly mention, and then of course there was a really wonderful, the call to action, the good news, as in it doesn't have to be like this. And I felt that she addressed the elephants in the room, which might be, is it any good if I do something when everyone else isn't? Right. So she said like one person, but you don't have to accept hatred. And I love that she had like a key expression, going high, going high. She kept saying that. So at least if you remembered nothing else from that speech, you would remember that gorgeous expression. Beautiful. That's mine.
Susan, did you want to add?
Yeah, yeah, that was a great connection, Joe, that, you know, I felt it viscerally again. It's just spectacular. I'd like to, the impact of vulnerability, I thought was really, really strong. And the fact when she did do that go high thing, she qualified it, right? We can say, we can be nice people and say, this is what you're supposed to do. But she nailed it. She just said, it's not easy. And we have to climb that mountain, you know, that it's not so just to say the right thing kind of thing. Because that's easy to, right? It's easy to make that, you know, supposition, assumption in the call to action. There's a few others and I named it, but I think
yeah. So thank you for so much for that, Susan. Yes. And what I think is beautiful is that there's the, so CA just shared from in the chat, she reached the other side of the screen as if she was talking to people in front of her. It's great that you noticed that, CA. There was another person, there was a woman at the Republican convention. She's like the girlfriend or wife of one of the Trump brothers who was screaming, like didn't know the medium, right? So she didn't know the medium. So there was a beautiful way, thank you, Joe. There was a beautiful way in which I think Michelle knew exactly, she was sitting in a chair, she was looking directly at the monitor, she was like making direct eye contact, and you felt like she was speaking to a person on the other side of the screen, right? So I thought like knowing the medium, knowing the frame, knowing the communication of it, I thought was really, really thrilling. Roberto, did you want to share something?
Well, of course, you know, we talk about great speeches and, you know, we talk about ethos, pathos, and logos. And when we look at this speech, we're looking at the pathos, the empathy. And this is what she stressed. She emphasized the empathy, you know, the lack of empathy, the greed of the society. Winning is everything. So we're in a society where it sort of comes to where that empathy says, I don't care about you. I don't care who you are. It's winning that counts. So we have that message where there's disrespect. And she brings out this metaphor, which is going high, which was mentioned by the previous commentators there, which is basically a metaphor. When you look at it, when you say that, it's true. Are you going to remember this speech, Going High? If I would title this speech, I probably would think of it Going High, and people would think, oh my God, what is she talking about? It's
a speech about marijuana and legalization of marijuana.
Yeah, so you can have a twist about this speech that going high is harder. In other words, being good versus taking the shortcut way and maybe the cheating way and sort of the disrespectful way. So it's a very, I find it's a very emotional speech, and to grab the emotions of the audience to say, well, you know what, she grabbed me and she connected with me. And I think that what makes it a very effective speech.
Awesome, Roberto. And the thing that I want to highlight from a technical perspective, I remember watching this, and from the moment that she started, I just exhaled. Like I felt like I was in the presence of extreme competence. Like she knew exactly what she was doing. And, you know, we featured other speakers who have lots of bells and whistles, you know, and like histrionics or props and all that stuff. She didn't have any of that. And I think that she does an extraordinary job of modeling what we call vocal variety. If you listen to the whole 18 minutes, she is shifting with pitch, she is shifting with pace, she is shifting with volume, and she's shifting with tone. And it makes her sound just like a person talking to you. So it's a beautiful way to look at how she's carrying this longer conversation, and that she is really playing technically, not just with content, but she's also technically delivering in variety that has us engage in different ways as a listener. So with that, we're gonna button Michelle Obama. We'll send the link of the whole speech. I highly recommend watching the whole thing. It's really gratifying. And one of the things that I want to hit is that she really takes time and breath to center certain moments. So there's like a pause before she leads into this chunk around empathy, right? So it was so clear in her delivery that we were able to stop at a moment and there was a clean break in content and feel to now do this chunk, which was around the empathy piece, which I thought was really thrilling. Okay, so with that, Benjamin Peltison, who are you selecting?
So when I was thinking back about this insane year that we have had, this one speech that happened over the summer during a number of incidents of police violence against Black men, mostly over the summer, came to mind and sort of doesn't leave my head. It's a speech by, her name is Letitra Widman. She's the sister of Jacob Blake, who was killed in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Jacob Blake, in front of his kids, intervened to stop a fight and was shot by some cops. And sometimes I think great speaking comes out of moments of great crisis, and great force and great power comes out of moments which we would assume might leave us totally without words. But her delivery is just incredible. So I just want to let you know this is about an incident of police violence. If that's something that's going to be triggering for you or bring anything up for you and you need to step away for a second, I totally understand, but just want to let you know what we're heading into for the next few minutes. It's a short 2-minute speech. Here we go.
You say the name Jacob Blake. Make sure you say father. Make sure you say cousin. Make sure you say son. Make sure you say uncle. But most importantly, make sure you say human. Human life. Let it marinate in your mouth, in your minds. A human life. Just like every single one of y'all and everywhere else, we're human. And his life matters. So many people have reached out to me telling me they're sorry that this happened to my family. Well, don't be sorry, because this has been happening to my family for a long time, longer than I can account for. It happened to Emmett Till. Emmett Till is my family. Philando, Mike Brown, Sandra. This has been happening to my family. And I've shared tears for every single one of these people that it's happened to. This is nothing new. I'm not sad. I'm not sorry. I'm angry. And I'm tired. I haven't cried one time. I stopped crying years ago. I am numb. I have been watching police murder people that look like me for years. I'm also a Black history minor. So not only have I been watching it in the 30 years that I've been on this planet, but I've been watching it for years before we were even alive. I'm not sad. I don't want your pity. I want change.
Right.
So an opportunity just to reflect, you know, what was thrilling about her speaking? What is it that you connected to, or what resonated with you in what she shared or how she shared? Ben, did you want to speak about the piece, the technical piece?
I mean, yeah, it's almost so hard when you're dealing with this kind of pain to look at it technically, but she's doing something in this speech, and I don't know if she's intending to do it or not, but it's something that Shakespeare does in almost every one of his big speeches, which is he takes a word in one line, in one sentence, and builds on that word in the next sentence, takes another word and builds on that in the next sentence. So there's this like pull through this speech of thinking, of thoughts, of images that accumulate as she's going through. So for me, that's incredible. And also it doesn't feel crafted. It doesn't feel written. It feels human, because that's the way people think when they are keyed into something they're passionate about. Their thoughts will build. So I really think that's extraordinary. And I also I think there's something about the simplicity of her language that when you have something this big to talk about, you don't need ornate words. You can trust what your heart says, and it's pretty simple. And I think that's incredibly powerful in this case.
Susan, yeah.
I just came off of 2.5 hours of a process that used a kind of empathy that I've been taught these last 2 years called feminine power, all around the systemic racism issue and what it is and how you feel, and really in a very, very deep way. And that brought me right back to these conversations, a series of conversations and a series of quick presentations. And there was one, I just looked up this quote that's extremely powerful, because I think she brought us deeper. Is that what I'm going to get to? She brought us to a different place. And if you have, it's Lila Watson. If you have come, Lila Watson, Lily, if you have come here to help me, you're wasting your time. But if you come here because your liberation is bound up with mine, then let us work together. And this is why I was feeling like I was going down that slope, or maybe up the slope or in the middle. But this was a very angry woman who had every reason to be where she is. And that power, that just really struck me, because I've just spent better part of the afternoon. But it's a consciousness raising, heavy, beautiful, important, so
yeah.
I don't know if beautiful is the word.
Great. Roberto, did you want to share something?
Well, you can sense the atmosphere of anger. She doesn't want pity, so her opening was the repetitive portray of a person, of a father, son, uncle. So that that repetition made you think of who this person is. And then ultimately she's saying, because it's relatively short speech we're looking at, that she doesn't want this pity. She wants someone, she wants a call of action. She's looking for a call of action. She wants the people out there who's the authority to do something about it. So don't give me pity, tell me what you're doing about it. And this is the message that came across. And it came out very emotional, because of course, when it deals with the ultimate tragedy of a death of a loved one, it makes it a lot more difficult.
Yeah. And she did again, in a moment of heightened, emotion, and who knows, did she prepare, did she not, who knows how much time she had for that. What she did is she had an unbelievable beginning and an unbelievable ending. So we call it the takeoff, and she landed the plane. So they were both really strong. So she did a stunning job of grabbing our attention at the beginning, and then she shared, and then she walked, she was done. It's like, drop the mic, I'm done. I don't want pity, I want change. It's like, that's right. a clear line. So we're gonna close the button on this talk, and now we're gonna move to Deborah's. And the beautiful piece of it, Deborah, is that we actually have your person in the group to talk to today. Yes, hi.
My person is here.
Yes.
So when Eduardo said, hey, let's do this in one of our meetings, I knew instantly. I was like, I know. It's Shawnee, it's my friend, it's my creative collaborator, it's somebody who has taught me so much. And in late August, scrolling through Facebook, I see Shawnee sharing to a crowd, and I was like, oh. And I was literally like transported in a different way. Like, I know Shawnee for the last few years, we've done some performance together, and I know her in all the different ways that she brings her beauty and her healing work into the world. And this moment for me, sharing this moment, watching Shawnee speak in late August, was, like, I literally stood up and started clapping, and my hands were up in the air. I was just so happy for my friend. And I was also so happy that this message was being shared so powerfully. So I just want to introduce and open the space here now to Miss Shawnee Benton Gibson. Welcome. Thank you so much for accepting my invitation to be here with us today. And what we're going to see is we're going to see this moment that I'm talking about that stopped the scroll on Facebook, that I was like, oh my God, that's my friend Shawnee. Oh my God, look how amazing that is. So Shawnee, do you want to just let us all in on what am I talking about? Where were you speaking in August?
So in August, on 28th to be exact, and greetings everyone, greetings family. I had the pleasure to stand in a spot that Martin Luther King stood in 57 years before at the first March on Washington, and address the community around something that is dear to me for many reasons, part of my life's work, but also because I lost my daughter in October of last year, 2019, to maternal mortality. You know, just to be standing there speaking about her, speaking about that loss, and speaking about the impact on Black and brown women and communities. There are no words for that. And there's a picture of me standing out before the speech was given. It's about an hour before. And I'm just like blown away by the experience. That was the bigger piece than more than the speech. It's just like I'm looking out from this space that this brother transformed the planet from. It was amazing. So I look forward to not necessarily watching me right now, but just look forward to sharing the message.
Yeah.
That's the most important. Like another group of people get to hear the message and are called to take action around it. So thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely, Shawnee. So what we're going to do now, my fearless friends, is we're going to watch this moment with Shawnee, this powerful moment, and then afterwards we get to hear from the speaker about what was that like and what happened before, during, and after. So let's all watch now.
On October 6, 2019, my eldest daughter, who I held in my womb for 9 months, transitioned after giving birth to her child that she held in her womb, her womb for 9 months. Shawnee Makiba Gibson. Why am I here today? Why am I here today? I'm here because Shawnee lived. I'm here because Shawnee lives. She lived 11,229 days before she transitioned on October 6th. 11,229 days. She died one day, and that one day catapulted me into a life that already existed as an advocate and an activist for reproductive justice, but has been amplified. Her spirit is a command and a demand for me to keep standing up for wombs that create worlds. Black wombs create worlds. Black lives matter, but Black wombs create Black lives. And when we forget that, we forget our humanity. So I'm here today to speak the names of women who unselfishly gave of themselves by utilizing their bodies for vessels to bring new life. And when you are a little girl and you think about being married or to have a child, you don't think like, wow, I might not survive giving birth. But that's a reality for Black and brown women, specifically African-American women and Latinx women in this country. We are 3 times more likely to die from giving birth than our white counterparts. Pulmonary embolism, hemorrhages, infection, cardiomyopathy. And it can happen even 12 months after you give birth. So I think about Erica Gardner, who died of a heart attack 6 weeks after she gave birth, correlated to racism, correlated to oppression, correlated to inequity, correlated to injustice in the birthing process. When we medicalized birth and took it away from the granny midwives, our aunties who were with us holding our backs, rocking with us as we cried and catching our babies, when we made it a hospital issue instead of a home birth issue, we started to kill off Black women and brown women. We are alive because of Black wombs. We are here because a Black woman pushed us out, and we landed because she gave that sacrifice. We want to make sure that our grandbabies, our children, have mothers to raise them, and that fathers are not left to figure it out on their own. My grandchildren, 3 years old and 11 months old, are left without their mother. We must stop this. So before I leave this stage, I'm going to call on the names of the women who gave sacrificially their lives so that we can stop the scourge of maternal mortality and near-death experiences when we give birth. So I call on the name of Erica Scott. She lives. Shawnee McKeever Gibson. She lives. Tiana James. She lives. Amber Isaacs. She lives. Yolanda Shifra Kadima. She lives. Dr. Shalon Irving. She lives. Erica Trim. She lives. Shayasia Washington. She lives. Nicole Thea. She lives. Black Lives Matter because Black wombs matter. Black Lives Matter because Black wombs matter. Black Lives Matter because Black wombs matter, and a Black womb created you. So remember to stand for maternal mortality and the abolishment for anything that looks unlike it. Birthing centers are needed. Home births are needed. More Black midwives are needed. Let's stand for life. Ashe.
I was on mute. I was on the mute moment.
And that learned nothing about Black history. I mean, nothing. I always liked history.
The video.
Ben, I think the video is still playing. I was like, who's talking? So my friends, because Shawnee is here with us, rather than the same process where we commented on the speaker, we have the opportunity to actually hear from the speaker. So what I'm going to invite now is Shawnee, for you just to bring us into a little bit of, for you, what do you want to share now for this community around how you found yourself in that moment, and what came through you standing on that stage?
Oh my goodness. So how I came to stand on the stage, my family was approached last year, about 2 months after my daughter transitioned, to do a documentary about Black maternal health, specifically maternal morbidity and mortality. And we said yes because we want to shift the outcomes for Black and Brown women and BIPOC communities. And so we said yes. And one of the producers and directors of the show, or of the documentary, asked if I was interested in speaking at the March on Washington. And she asked me 2 months before. I'm like, sure, of course. She was like, this is the first time that this particular issue has been brought in on this platform. So it's a great opportunity to educate and, transform the outcomes for the community. I said yes, and I didn't hear anything more about it. So a week before, I was just like, I have this on my calendar. Nobody's saying anything. I don't know if this is still happening. So I reached out and she was like, I don't know. But 2 days before, she came back and said, they still want you to come. And I looked to see the flights, but COVID made things so crazy. They wanted me to stop in like 4 different places just to land someplace that usually takes an hour. So I was like, okay, I can't do that. And I just took the Amtrak and took the train the 4 hours. So I only found out 2 days before what I needed to do to go there, booked a hotel, the whole nine, and arrived there. They gathered a camera crew to be with us because they wanted to film it for the documentary. So I did what I know how to do, which is to check in with spirit. And so how do I prepare myself in the hotel? I had someone with me because I wanted partnership as I did it. And then the camera crew, we did ritual, pulled a card to see what spirit had. And, if you watch the documentary next year, you'll see. So in my pajamas in there with the camera crew, just did what I know how to do and how I know how to ground myself. And we rode over to the area where the prep was being done for the event. And I just kept, just asking spirit to speak to me and through me, specifically my daughter, Shawnee. And I always say that she's more present in my life. She was very present in my life when she was alive, and she's even more present as a person that's an ancestor now. And I was like, tell me what to say. I speak a lot, I perform a lot, but I'm like, this is a sacred moment. And so I must be the conduit. Anything I think I know, move that out of the way and just channel. I wrote the names in my notebook of the women who I didn't want to mispronounce or leave anyone out, but I just allowed the speech to move through me, and that's how it came up and out. It was hot as hell that day. It was like 90 something degrees. I was sweating bullets. When you wear makeup and you men may not have to deal with this, but women, if you're trying to wear makeup and look decent, it was just impossible. I took the mask off, and it's just like, just do your source and a conduit. Don't worry about what you look like. Just let it rip. And they were like, you have 3 minutes to make this happen. You know, there was no what do they call it? The hook to pull you off. So I ended up doing it in 4. But just tremendous gratitude and just feeling like I feel now because I warmed up to watching me do the speech and being with all of from watching Michelle, and then also you said her name is Latitra. So I'm stirred on the inside, and that's just the same thing that happened that day. And I'm just grateful that I honor and trust spirit the way that I do, because people are like, you don't write your speech. I'm like, no. And this is anything that I do. It's just like, be spontaneous, be flexible, but most of all, be a vessel by which spirit can come through and the message can land with people. So even if making mistakes and fumbles, it's like they'll hear it the way it was intended.
Indeed. And one of the things that I found so interesting when I was talking to Shawnee just yesterday is that the line "black wombs create black lives," Shawnee had never said that before. I made an assumption that because you are a part of this work, Shawnee, that this is something that had been generated in the various ways as an advocate and an activist that you turn up. But I was just like, yesterday, I was like, oh, this is what she really means with allowing the spirit to speak through you. In that, like, for me, that is such a powerful statement. Like, I couldn't forget it, and I don't forget it. And it's something that stays with me. And that's the gift, isn't it?
It is. And it makes perfect sense retrospectively, like when I was on the train back home, I was stirred by that. It came up now because it makes, I'm getting emotional saying it. It makes perfect sense. We talk about Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. Where do Black lives come from?
Yeah.
And when you know, take the action, whether it's intentional and planned or not, and Black life comes through you, it's an amazing gift to the world. And you don't know who it will be, but you don't think that by virtue of you doing that you will not survive. And it's shocking, it's sad. But so anytime that you make that sacrifice, it's an amazing thing. And the womb is like the other brain for me, as far as women are concerned. I heard Sister Susan talk about that feminine energy and that vibe. That's what I allow to move through me. I let my womb speak for me rather than my.
Ooh, that's so good. Let the womb speak. Oh my God, I love it. Yes.
All about it. Shawnee, you've been a speaker and an advocate and a performer for a long time. So this is also something you've been working on. Yeah. So you've been working on getting this trust, because you need to be able to trust yourself that in that moment that spirit is going to speak, and that you are going to have what comes through. And I think when we're working with people, I think there's something that I really like to invite people into who haven't thought about this at all in their speaking is, like you've just said, it's like your body could tell the story. You know, like so much is here in terms of I have to think about what I'm going to say. And it's like, Shawnee, you're a great example of what happens if you don't think so much and you actually allow the heart and the body to lead, and for it to speak.
One of the things I want to point out about Latitra is how she was being with people. Like how her head was moving, and she was like giving it to them, like her eyes, just like very intentional. And to be on paper, I'm not knocking it, but that takes me away. And there's a reciprocity. Even though the people were far from me, I felt the energy of the space I was in, the history around it, and just to be on paper, it just doesn't allow for me to channel in that way, because that's what I call it. So, you know, I'm grateful. And also for the speeches that came before me. I'm like so honored to be selected amongst just awesome speakers and to be amongst all of you who do this every day and know how it's supposed to go.
Yeah.
Shawnee, we toss out suppose. You know,
yeah.
And the thing that I want to acknowledge is, you know, sometimes people would see something and be like, she winged it, but you didn't. It's like a lifelong of practice and experience that gave you the trust and confidence in the embodiment of who you are and your story and the gift of presence to trust what was going to come out of your mouth, to be with the present moment, to be in communication with community in service that allowed that to come. Like you were gifted with the language that emerged because you trusted and knew that it would, and that you had ritual and practice to do that.
Yes.
Right? Like when we talk about preparation, right? That looks like many things, but knowing what it takes for you to prepare, to allow the moment to hit, to be able to deliver that way, I think that you've done it enough to know what it is. You know what works for you and you know what doesn't work for you, right? And I think one of the things that we always say is like, you do you, boo. You know, like if there's a system or practice that really works for you, awesome. And if that take or leave whatever, like that we can learn from each other, right? And the beautiful thing, Shawnee, is that that we can learn from your practice and consider that practice as we step into the spaces that there are for us to show up and communicate and share. So Shawnee, I'm just so honored. Your speech was spectacular. So honored. And I remember when Deborah shared it with me, you know, we can break down the rhetorical pieces of it. We can break down the delivery of it. It's extraordinary. And who you were was a vessel for a message that had to be heard in the moment. And you honored the moment. You honored your daughter. You honored your ancestors. You honored within your own lineage and within the greater lineage, standing in that space to communicate that message. So bra fucking ba. And sorry for the expletive, but that's what Spirit felt compelled to share.
That's what came through. Yeah.
So that this completes. Unfortunately, we wish we could keep on going. You know, I want to name that it was a coincidence, and I think a moment that I don't want to overstep. That the three people who we chose are African-American women to center as who we think stood out this year in 2020 as extraordinary speakers. And that was a heartfelt, that wasn't a choice. Like we didn't agree, like it just, in the way that we were thinking and emerging, that's who we grounded on. And I think it's important to name that is who we are centering in this conversation, specifically in this year. And that's something I'm really proud of. And so grateful, Shawnee, that you, as one of those speakers, can be in community and presence with us to share your gift and your light. I also want to name just quickly that Shawnee, through Deborah, is how we have the acknowledgement of elder ritual as part of our tradition. So we've been now doing that in all of our events, you know.
Yeah, for the last like 2 years now.
Yeah, so you know, Trixie was just in a workshop that I did with Issue Voter, and I started with an acknowledgement of elder. Do you know, I mean, we do that in all of our events. All our events have that. And Shawnee, if you can just speak to that quickly, just to give a context for that, that would be beautiful to anchor us into the why of it. Yeah.
African-centered tradition and many other cultures and traditions too. Honoring of the elders is a must. You know, before anything can begin, those who have come before you must be acknowledged and ask permission to do a thing, speak a thing, think a thing, right? Just as powerful. And what I always say is that I wanted to reinstate that because we are so youth obsessed in this society. We want to nick and tuck and deny and lie about our ages and, you know, make up everything. And it's like, it's an honor to age. You know, it is an honor to be called elder in the space. And I want to keep evolving so that my eldership is one that can be celebrated because I brought something. Like you got to earn that, right? So to be able to be like, Shawnee, can I have permission to begin? I look forward to having that be asked of me. It has been, because, you know, I work with youngins, but like, as I really, really age, become a seasoned woman, for that opportunity and that privilege to be bestowed to me. And I wanted to say really quickly, because I talked about this before y'all came on, the tree frogs represent transformation, fertility, awakening of one's creativity, good luck, abundance, and wealth. And I wish that for all of you in this space today. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, Shawnee. Thank you so much.
so
The other thing that I'm going to ensure happens for our community, and there's more people who registered for this chat who will be watching it on the replay, is I'm going to share some information with Shawnee's work that supports Black wombs, creating Black lives, because there's various ways that you can either stay connected or support the work that Shawnee has been doing for years that is now empowered in spirit with her daughter that has transitioned. So if you are interested in staying connected to Shawnee or supporting the work, the amazing, beautiful work that she is doing for now and future generations, then I'm going to make that invitation to you. I'm going to ensure that that goes out with our replay and the email, because I wish everybody knew that Black wombs create Black lives, and that we need to take some care there, as you are doing, Shawnee. Thank you so much for your service and your work.
So to complete our gathering, and if you have to go, we know we're a minute over, we have a little ritual that we do to close. CA, I know that you're participating in the listening and not in the video. So we may have you participate via the chat. And Roberto, I know that you're present with audio and not video. So if you're able to stay on, if you can just give us a thumbs up so that we know that you're here. The opportunity is to raise your hand, right? And what we're going to do is we're going to just go around and we're going to acknowledge, CA and Roberto here as well. I'm just going to model it, and then we're going to go from person to person to person in this way. So I'm going to start with Susan Mazanson. I see you, I hear you, I feel you, and I am so grateful that you are here.
Thank you, Eduardo. I feel like I need to earn this to do this, but I need to go to Shawnee. I can't not. I'm so honored to be in your company, what you stand for, and how you are making changes in the world that need to happen, and you're teaching us all to be better and to learn to ride your coattails and to it's like the birds that flock, the wind that you're creating to help us all be better and to move and to have the same impact on our future and to honor our ancestors is so critical. And I thank you so much.
Do I go?
Yeah, and now you get to choose somebody else. Yeah.
Alrighty. Trixia, I see you and I feel you. May you and all of your kind, both sides of your family be honored, be celebrated for all that they bring to the planet. What I'm led to say is trust your intuition. Trust your intuition. Your mind is great, but trust your intuition. That's what I'm led to say. And keep doing the great works. And you're bigger than you think. Ashe, thank you for being here.
So much. I feel that. Thank you for sharing your message. With that, I'm going to go on to Deborah. I see you, I hear you, and I feel you. Thank you so much for creating spaces like this for us. And I appreciated coming in even late at this space and meeting all of you.
Thank you. I'm so pleased that you're here. Welcome to our community, Trixia. So pleased that you're with us. So I would like to acknowledge Roberto. Roberto, thank you so much for popping into our Zoom room when you do. I really always enjoy what you bring and the way that you bring it. I see you, I appreciate you. Thank you for being with us.
So thank you for that. Of course, when we deal with things that are emotional, I think this is where the epitome of speaking is. The emotions, the inspiration, the call of action. And this is where things actually get done. So if we don't feel that, if we don't say, well, how often do we hear that? Oh, it touched me. He touched me. What exactly does that mean? It's a profound thought, because now you're going into your feelings. And once they touch our feelings, that is the most powerful speech you can have. And not just a speech per se, but a feeling. Because a speech, like as I believe Deborah, when she had that powerful speech about the mother's womb, was not rehearsed, was not practiced. So therefore, it was a truly emotional, heartfelt speech. And I felt it, and I'm with you. Thank you.
So Roberto, you now get to acknowledge the last person in our community, our wonderful Ben.
All right. Do I see her? Is she on the
So
screen?
you just
he's
say,
waving. He's waving.
Yeah, he's waving at you.
Oh,
Say,
she is? Okay, I don't see her on the screen. That's why. Okay.
that's okay. You can just say, Ben, I see you, I acknowledge you, I thank you. You can say whatever comes to you, Roberto.
Okay. So, okay, because I literally was hoping to see that person on the screen. That's what I meant.
Oh, right. Yeah, got it.
Okay, all right. Okay, so although I don't see you on the screen, that the feelings or whatever that Bruce are, I hope that you were comforted and felt the presence of goodness. And that's basically what I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Roberto.
So I see everybody, and I thank you all for listening with open hearts to beautiful things and hard things. And let's use our words wisely in the year ahead.
Ashe. Yes.
Ashe.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being with us.
Thank you for being here. Trixie is joining us from Alaska. So so it's early. It's early there.
I missed the first part because I got the times wrong, but I'm so glad I got to meet Shawnee and hear your speech. So it was
perfect.
Amazing.
Yeah. It was perfect.
I'm going to share next week. We're talking, we have two of our greatest hits of our Fearless Chat speakers. One is Dr. Kelly Jennings, who is our first talk about what else to do besides washing your hands. So talking about health and wellness, specifically as we're heading into December, as we're heading into new waves of coronavirus numbers. She's a naturopath, healer, has done a lot of work. She's Chilean of ancestry. Does a lot of work with indigenous communities all over the world. And then Allison Davis is a heart-centered sales coach. So talking about business and what's emerging in the business landscape. And then, so that's on the 10th. And then on the 17th is our final Fearless Chat of the year. And it's also our final Fearless Chat. So we have new things brewing for 2021. And we are completing that. So you have a little pre-knowledge about that situation. And that's going to be an acknowledgement fest. We invite you to all gather on December 17th. And we're going to acknowledge the hell out of each other and what we've accomplished in 2020 and what we're excited for 2021. CA sees us, hears us, and feels us all joining us virtually and not on video. Thank you, CA. And until the next time, remember to fear less, speak free, and love more. Shawnee, if you can just wait one moment as we complete. It's been such a pleasure, everyone. Bye.
Thank you so